record. So welcome everybody. I have this gentleman and I have been doing a scheduling dance, and we are so happy that we finally get to see each other and be here and have the conversation. And we're going to talk about his book, but also a bunch of other stuff that we both feel like everybody might need to hear now. So I want to welcome Jonathan Hammond. Thank you so much for all that mishigosh until we finally got to be here.
That's right. Aloha, Susan. It's really good to be here, and aloha to everyone.
So Jonathan said aloha, and the name of his book is The Shaman's Mind, Huna Wisdom to Change Your Life. I'm just going to show you guys when this gets on YouTube, you can see the book. So Jonathan, Shaman's Mind. So you're a shaman.
Well, there's too many sort of cultural trappings with that, so I don't call myself that. Other people call myself that. I don't. The name, that word doesn't mean anything to me. I don't care. I'm certainly a natural healer. I certainly do that full time. I work with psychology and merge it with earth wisdom and how the nature can teach us how nature is a template to teach us how to be, because everything in nature works and is fine with being itself, and that's something, and co-creative with everything else, and connected to everything else, and interdependent with everything else, and we have a lot to learn from that. So I'm certainly a healer with that frame of reference.
And your book is just okay, so everybody, this is a really great book. It's actually going to become a resource book for me, because Jonathan, you're the ancient wisdom that you've written about and that you've researched and experienced is in here with some really lovely how-tos, how to go to kind of thing. So I'm curious about what attracted you to the Hawaiian.
Well, I had worked with shamans over the years on I think 4 different continents, and what I saw was, and then of course I studied stateside shamanism, with all the teachers that many of you who study shamanism probably know about. And what I saw was that they were all doing the same thing, different cultures, different practices, but that they had a way of looking at the world that seemed to be quite universal. And because I have a psychological bent, I wanted to sort of get inside what that was, how they were seeing the world, because at the end of the day, our thoughts really do create reality. That's not just a cute spiritual adage. That is a quantum law. And so getting inside the shaman's mind and seeing how they saw the world was important to me. Then when I discovered the Hawaiian tradition, the Hawaiian tradition is surprisingly psychological and philosophical. And so there was a way of I received languaging about what that universal shamanic paradigm I was seeing in all the different cultures was, and a way to get inside of it. And so it's really about entrance into a different frame of reference, a different worldview, a different ontology, if you will. And from inside that animistic shamanic ontology or way of seeing the world, life opens up, and you enter into a space interconnected with nature, connected to the supernatural as an everyday occurrence. All the things that we recognize in shamanic cultures, that they have this magical connection with the world, and inside that mind, you can gain access to it for yourself.
So this is wonderful. I haven't studied with as many shamans as you have, but I have experienced some of it. And what is wonderful in your book is the feeling I got when I was reading through it is this is a practice of living life wherever you are. You don't have to, there's lots of shamans that require you going out to nature, you retreat, the mountaintop thing those are more mystics. But your book really lends itself to walking a shamanic path while you're living wherever you are, like in a big city.
100%. There are two ways to think of it. There's concentrated spell work where you create a circle and you concentrate on something, you light a candle and you do something. And then there is natural magic. And natural magic is really nothing more than, first of all, self-advocacy, meaning that I have to want something and really want it and be on my own team about wanting it. And knowing that if it is in service of growth and evolution, that it is in alignment with nature, because that's what nature is doing. And then assuming, because we are all part of the one organism co-evolving together, that when I evolve toward growth or toward manifesting that thing that I want to create in the service of evolution, that the external world is in cahoots with my evolution, so to speak, and will bring me what I need to actually make that happen. And so it's like the world becomes a place where I belong and where I'm connected to everything. The indigenous people call it the long body, meaning that the environment is an extension of one's own body, that the earth extension, that we are truly that connected. And from that perspective, you leave your house with an intention to manifest, and you open to all the different power, all the different influences that are available to you when you say, this entire thing is my world, as it is yours and yours and yours and yours.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. The long body idea, that just because you just explained what I've been doing for years. Whenever I go for a walk outside of my house, I really, most of the time, unless I'm doing the story in my head, I'm trying to intentionally see and be present with the nature that's around me. Now, I live in a neighborhood, so it's the flowers in somebody's garden, or it's the grass or whatever, but that, excuse me, that long body idea, it just opened up my perception. Actually, intuitively, as you said that, I went, oh, and it feels, for me, it feels comfortable and safe. Now, for some people, that may not feel comfortable or safe.
Well, it's another word for long body, a more contemporary word is the ecological self. The idea being that the world is a place full of persons, only some of which are human, and that all of these persons have minds, and they do. And modern science is really telling us about plant sentience and about intelligence and preference and agency and everything in nature. And that connection is an ancient one. That if you think about a time when you didn't know where your next meal was coming from and where the weather actually did matter in terms of your well-being, you had a different connection with the natural world. That is instinctive in us. That's animism, the idea that everything is alive, that we are connected with the many minds of nature. So when you think of biodiversity, there's also something that you might think of called psychodiversity, all the different minds, which of course includes the spirits. And from that frame of reference, you enter into an entire different relationship with the world. And a conversational one, a beautiful one, and one that if we adopted more, teach us something about how we treat each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So this idea of that you just said is it's not just about doing a meditative practice, right? This is like walking in the world. This is like being in the world, right? This isn't like, oh, I do my morning practice, I get off the mat, and then I go and live.
No, this is about you take a walk in the forest with a question, and you think the forest is going to talk to me. If the forest is going to talk to me and help me answer that question, you take a walk in the forest, you'll get an answer. If you don't enter into the forest with that reality, it's a walk in the forest.
Yep.
So it's about entering into a different kind of reality. And just to say this, it begins, if this feels foreign to you, or I'm not sure how to do that, it begins with the imagination. It really does. The bridge to any other realm, the bridge to any to the spirit of the thing, to the soul of the thing, is first the imagination.
Yeah.
The imagination gets a bad rap because it's not empirical, it's not scientifically underpinned as reality, but it is. That feeling of there's nothing to tell me that this is true. I just know it to be true. I feel it to be true.
Exactly. Exactly. When I first was years ago, I'm like 18, 20 something, and I would intuitively just know it. It's not like a psychic thing, but it was just, I am one with everyone. Everyone is one with me, that kind of stuff. And I had a friend who really, her trust had been horribly abused. And she kept saying, how do you know? And my only answer was, I just know. I
Yeah.
just know. And that was before my spiritual practice and my deep meditation practice really took me to other levels. I just intuitively connected. Um, now,
Part of in the Hawaiian tradition, there's a part of the body 2 inches below the navel. Some people call it the second chakra, that they call the na'au. And the na'au, the translation is the heart of the mind.
oh, I
It's
love it.
it's also the name of gut and genitals. And the idea being that deep truth comes from the felt senses deep within the body. That sense of this feels right, this doesn't feel right. This feels like it's growthful to me. This feels like it doesn't have anything for me. We all have that inner attunement. And that felt sense is the same felt sense in all of nature, because all of nature is just feeling toward life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But what humans do is they put a mental overlay on that and say and editorialize that, and instead of following the instinct, they follow the should. And there are two
Yep.
different truths going on in humans,
Yep.
but the deeper truth is that's the one that's connected to nature. If you tune into that, you have a question to something, you say to a friend, I don't know what to do, and they say, what does your gut tell you? And you can find the actual answer to what your gut's telling you, it's always right. And that's
Yes.
nature. Yeah.
Yes. So from to take it just a little bit further, the connection to nature, because people have to have the like you said, the whole scientific underpinning,
Yeah.
but it isn't. It is more than nature, because it is an all pervasive, ever flowing. What did you say? One organism, a
Yeah.
oneness that is beyond what nature is here on planet Earth, and we touch and feel and see and smell and blah blah blah, but the organism, the oneness of the allness, it goes far beyond. So as we as humans walking the planet become more aware of our connectivity to everything, then doesn't that uh, kind of expand into that further
Yeah. And if you want
organism?
to, you can go scientific for a minute. Just that, there's a theory called the Gaia theory,
Mm-hmm.
developed by a NASA scientist named James Lovelock in 1979. And he was studying other planets near us, and basically saw that the planets near us were sort of dead, like they were not conducive to life. And what he saw about the Earth was, yes, we are conducive to life, obviously, but that the Earth seems to behave as one organism, and that
Oh,
every individual being of that organism contributes to the health and the growth and the evolution of that one organism. And so you can think of it that we are all each individual cells or even atoms contributing to that one organism. Now, where there is aliveness, which is certainly here, there is also consciousness, which
mm-hmm.
which means that there is not only the physical aliveness, but there is a consciousness that is the byproduct of aliveness, and that both are co-evolving and evolving together as one. And so when we are taking actions that are antithetical to the growth and evolution of ourselves as a microcosm of the macrocosm of the one organism, we are not contributing to that health. And that's why the planet's sick right now, and that's
Right.
many of us so many of the population are struggling right now, because, and in some ways we are taught to take actions and make decisions contrary to nature, and
Yeah.
a whole bunch of reasons for that. But yeah,
Right. And that happened, Galileo or whatever, that happened uh, several centuries ago. And now we're finally living the outpicturing of what that was, and coming to the I want to say crisis point. It's probably further than beyond we're probably
well,
beyond the crisis point. So now we got to get ourselves to the recovery point. But the science as it became, here's what I want to say, Jonathan. Now, this is my opinion, you guys, but as science began to become the forerunner of how we live our lives, and we're talking, centuries ago, the people that were looking at the stars were very, very, very spiritual people. They were very connected to source energy and to the planet and all that. And so as they developed what became scientific theories, then other people that maybe, I don't know, I might be reading something into, maybe weren't that connected to self, to the planet, to source, to anything, began to see, ooh, we can manipulate this, or, oh, we can make money out of this, or look, and now we have, again, and this is my tirade, I'll stop in just a second, but now we have what we got going on the planet, and we have pharmaceutical companies that have denigrated natural herbal remedies that were from eons ago, and they've just manipulated it until we are, I'm insulin dependent, so yeah, me too, that we are dependent on them. So it's interesting because that's not where science really started. It was more of, to me, extending that long body you talked about, Jonathan.
Well, yes, yes, early science was, they were a lot more, there was a sense that there was a spiritual connection, because the closer you get to any indigenous or nature-based existence, the closer, the more spiritual you become. I mean, Genesis chapter 1, dominion over the earth, subdue the earth, that the earth is a storehouse of resources for us being humans, us being the peak identity. And so we have been in pursuance for 2,000 years of being the peak identity. And the peak identity is not just humans, but then that has been appropriated to peak identities among humans.
Yeah.
And so the suppression of the feminine, the suppression of the intuitive, the suppression of the, yes, there is actual reality that could be measured and explained and broken down, and then there is a myth underneath that reality that is the feminine, that is the story underneath. Easy way to think of it is that you break your arm, you go to the doctor, they set your arm. You break your arm, you go to the shaman to find out why you broke your arm.
Yep. Yep.
That's the feminine story underneath. And that feminine story is not only as real, but sometimes much more relevant than just the outward story. Yep. And that's the part that's missing. And that's the part that's missing in the culture. That's what's missing in patriarchy and all of that. So the architects of reality who have designed society to pull us away from our bodies, which is the reason why we're cut off at the waist with the major religions, to pull us away from our bodies, to pull us away from our felt senses and into their morals, their view of what we should be, their structures. And we have learned to adhere. We have learned to, on some level, assimilate, that reality comes through our phone. Reality comes through our lived experience. Yeah. So it's about returning to that. It's about returning to that. And in this age of who knows what truth is, we all have an inner compass that tells us. A lot of times, with the political stuff that we just went through, they'll say, well, they believe that and they believe that. I heard that and I heard that. And I don't know what's true. So they're both terrible. Right. And my reaction is, why don't you just look at the person talking, the actual person talking, and tune into your felt sense of how you feel about them, and not what they're saying, not what the spin, not whatever. And you will actually, what will emerge is choosing the one that's right for you. Yes. But it's the spin, as opposed to just my felt sense of that. I believe that one. I don't believe that one.
Right. That's a great, you guys, that's a great how-to Jonathan just gave us, to look at whoever's you're listening to and feel into, is this true? is what this person's saying to me true to me, right? Does it make me feel connected, or does it make me feel disenfranchised or shamed and blamed? Does it make me feel powerful, or does it make me feel fearful? That kind of stuff.
And just to say that anything that is fear inducing
Yes.
is meant, at least politically, and then I'll get off this, but anything that is fear inducing is meant to foster in the individual cruelty.
Ooh.
Because when you induce fear in a traumatized person, and most of us have some trauma, what happens is that the person with the trauma wants to double down on the unknown. And if the unknown is a fearful narrative in the future, the doubling down becomes about I will kill the possibility of more trauma. I will hate the possibility of more trauma because I've been told to fear them. And because the worst has happened to me as a traumatized person, and I don't ever want that to happen again, I must eliminate the possible source.
Wow.
So when you are actually re-traumatizing people and building in them. That's why we all have that thing when you're going to make any change, even a positive change, and your mind starts going criticizing you and telling you it's never going to work. That's to protect you. That's a part of the psyche that protects you from change, that protects you from the status quo, because it's not comfortable with ease, possibility, faith, openness, because of trauma. And so when fear is being induced, it's saying because the worst has happened to you, it can happen again. And so therefore, let's enlist your cruelty to make sure, because I'm trying to protect you. And this is the part of the psyche that's also trying to protect you. So it's very manipulative. So when it's fear inducing, it's trauma inducing, and it's meant to foster cruelty.
Jonathan, I haven't told you this yet, but I adore you. That is the clearest explanation of what we've just been going through. And I've been going around talking to people going, we're electing Hitler. We are saying yes to a dictator. We have just done that. And with your explanation, it explains exactly what happened in Nazi Germany and why that machine became so powerful in taking over countries basically with ease because of enlisting other human beings' cruelty so they could, oh my God, so they could avoid extra trauma themselves. I'm
by the othering and the demonization of the person that's going to come get you. That's
right.
the reason why.
Which creates more separation.
There's in the Native American traditions, the Native Americans identified something called the Wetiko virus, and the Wetiko virus is and they saw it amongst the colonizers, the people who oppressed them, a mind virus that was demonic, that was sort of had a demonic aspect to it, born of separation, born of greed, born of dominion over others, and that the Wetiko virus they called self-cannibalizing, meaning that it will kill its own host.
Wow.
When you think of demons are nothing. Demons don't exist outside of you. Demons are only that which blocks you from your own liberation inside your own head. And that's the Wetiko virus. And it's if you want to talk about pandemics, that's the one. That's the one, because so many people are taking action, voting against their own best interest, or maybe they're voting for the financial best interest, but the best interest of their home, of the ecology, of the place that they rely on to actually live. I don't know where we're
feed them.
Right. And even in the spiritual communities, this idea that we're going to float away, that we're going to float away, and that that essentially there's some post-apocalyptic a consciousness that we can no. We live here. Exactly. And we have to recognize that our road back is the love of home, and the love of home is the love of the feminine.
I
because
love that,
that's what she did.
Dorothy. I'm seeing the whole Dorothy story. Yes. Love of home.
She lived
So,
here. Yeah.
so, so you guys, we are talking about Jonathan's book because a lot of what he's dropped into this conversation is in his book. But I want to read something about now is the moment of power. It's a chapter in your book. Because this caught me. A mystic. Okay, so first of all, you guys, so a lot of people say we're all mystics and we're all walking around now being mystical and stuff. But what Jonathan just talked about then you're going to ohm your way into a higher consciousness that just kind of goes away. That we are the boots on the ground right now. That's kind of a war reference. Sorry. We are the people that are here to.
I think it's a spiritual war. It is.
Oh,
I think I
it
love that
is.
language. I think
It
that's
is.
appropriate language. Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with being a mystic and following a mystic path as long as you make sure your feet are grounded in Pachamama, in Mother Earth, in Gaia. So in this chapter, you say a mystic might want to sit peacefully in a meditative state of present time awareness, but a shaman wants to do something with it. And then you go on and say, now is the moment of power. So let me just read this other section, Jonathan, because this whole chapter, it was exactly what I needed to hear when I opened it up. You say the past has no impact on us other than what we decide it has, right? Because the past endures solely in memory. That is so clear to me. And a memory is nothing more than a story, and a selectively remembered one at that we can reinterpret, recreate, or rewrite however we like. The future is nothing more than embryonic potential. I love that phrase. I'm going to use it a lot. So now is the moment of power. So how do we stop telling our story to ourselves and others? I find myself winding that story and then I go around going bleep, bleep to people. Even though that is not my intention all the time, but it just comes out bleep, bleep. So how do we maintain now?
Well, now is the moment of power. That actually, that's a translation of a Hawaiian word called manawa, one of the principles in Huna. The idea behind it is that the only place to access power, the only place where we can do anything, is actually right now. And so when past influences are in your present, it's like what part of you is in present time and what part
Yeah.
of you isn't. If you look back on the things in your life that you can't stand that you did, that you have shame about, if you really go back and you look at it compassionately, you were trying to do something.
Yes.
With the tools you had at the time, you were trying to do something. We can't know what we don't know. We can't know what we don't know. And so that's something. And then it is also about that when something bad happens to me that I'm a victim of or I'm innocent of in the past, everyone will form an identity around that event. A child won't go out, this shouldn't be happening to me. A child will say my own self-worth is my
Yes.
own identity is the reason why that's happening, and it's a way to garner for the child to garner control,
Yes.
say I'm hittable, I'm not worthy, I'm something like that. This mistreatment makes sense if. So we have to actually adjust those senses of selves that we've adopted from past experiences in the now and say that happened to me, but that's not me.
It doesn't define me.
Right. Right.
Right.
And then in terms of the future, it's about like it's the easiest way to think of it is, and I do this all the time, not just meditating. What's coming up on my screen of awareness? What's
Mm-hmm.
coming up? Is there a thought form? Is there something in front of me? What's coming up? And what choice am I going to make about it that's going to lead to life, growth, and evolution? If that thought form is not going to get you where you want to go, don't give it clout and legitimacy. If that person or that situation is not going to give you life, growth, and evolution, don't engage in it. And
Okay.
we are the only beings in nature that move toward suffering, that move toward things that we have to cope with. Nothing in nature does that. Nature runs. There is suffering in nature, but nature that never moves toward it.
Right. Right. That is the clearest. I'm gonna do this too, Jonathan. Choice that leads to life, growth, and evolution, because that's really why we're here anyway, right? As
That's what
souls
right.
walking the planet. So let's dive into Huna, because there's how many? Seven?
Yeah.
Seven components of it. Can you just kind of list them in a?
I'll try to.
I know that's a lot. That's because that's
Okay.
what the entire book is.
Yeah,
But
yeah. The first principle says that the world is, or reality is, what we think it is. Now, what it means is not just my opinion of reality, or my inner world, my inner world in the moment. I'm at a party, but I'm miserable, and so therefore I'm creating misery at the party. Yes, it means that, but that's just projection. But what it's really getting at is that mind creates reality. That mind is the precursor to form.
yes,
And so what we are thinking about, what we are believing, will eventually, over time, enter us into a reality where what we are thinking about and believing will take hold. So, for instance, I wasn't always a spiritual teacher. I had an idea that I should be, and over time, I became one. And now there's no doubt in my mind that I'm a spiritual teacher, and the outside world reflects spiritual teacher. That's
right.
that's now my career. And so, and I believe that I am, in the same way that I believe green light means go, and green light means go is now mirrored in the outside world, because so what we are believing actually creates and is the precursor to manifest reality. So paying attention to that, and what you're believing about life, is really
Yes.
important. Like when atheists say to me, like, I'm an atheist, and I say, how's that working out for you? Is that giving you more possibilities? Is that that
I know.
you know but so it's really important. So that's the first one, that really, what am I believing, what are my core beliefs? If I believe I'll never have love, you are curating the reality. You are in the unconscious process of curating the reality of not having love. And that's up to you. That's up to you. You can change those beliefs. Do they take time? Sure. But that's a process of healing. That's what I do for a living. That's what I help people with.
Right. Right.
Second principle says that there are no limits, meaning that there is no separation. Everything we just talked about, the Gaia theory, which means that however I'm evolving, the universe is co-evolving with me and will help. Will help, and my evolving and its evolving can happen together, and they're both mutually beneficial.
Yep. Yep.
Third principle says that energy flows where our attention goes.
Yes.
Just means that where we place our focus and attention with consistency will bring about the energetic correlation to bring that into being. So what we focus on or give attention to actually invites in creative energy.
Yes.
So
and,
you got to.
and it doesn't mean it doesn't say this is positive and this is negative. It just brings in that creative energy.
This brings in that creative energy. So you got to pay attention to what you're paying attention to, because what you're paying attention to is actually inviting in creative energy in whatever direction of whatever you're paying attention to.
Right. This is so this one point of Huna, and everybody, you've heard it in a whole bunch of other ways, but this right now is crucial for how we navigate as human beings, how we navigate as humanity. Where are we putting our attention consistently, because we are co-creating the reality of whatever that is, right?
Yeah, and it's important. I'm not talking about. It's not avoiding. An easy way to think of it is, when the spiritual people talk about 5D consciousness, what are they really talking about? They're talking about that 3D is that good, bad. It's just polarity, bad, black, white,
linear,
Trump, Harris, all that. 5D is about, I see that that's happening. And as we talked about before we got on the show, I see that that's happening, and there's a story, and I'm holding a holistic story to that. And I am existing knowing that it's there, but outside of it enough so I can create what I prefer. And if I'm creating what I prefer, the people in that 3D reality may go, what's he having over there? Because that looks more attractive, and join me.
Yeah.
So 5D is about I know that it's there, but I'm doing this.
Jonathan, that statement right there is giving me hope because I often talk, I teach light leaders and we talk about what does that mean. And with everything that's happened in the United States, it knocked so many of us off our kilter, you know, and for me, I was out for a little while because I thought, how can I get up and support other light leaders and teach this when I can't hold that vibration myself. And so you just gave me the here's how you do it thing. So if I could just continue to do the work I do and focus on the thing that I know is a healthier existence for humanity, for everyone, then all those other things in that other 3D dimension you said will begin to migrate.
You know, yes, if the world is what we think it is, then
Mm-hmm.
let me give you something. If the world is what we believe, becomes what we believe, let me give you something to believe. The fact is that the Quechua, the Hopi, the Mayan, the Eastern traditions, even Carl Jung talked about that this time on the planet. Carl Jung talked about in a book that he wrote in 1953 that in December of 2022 we would begin the age of Aquarius. Then you have the
Right.
Mayan prophecies, the rainbow prophecy, the Quechua prophecy, all around this time on the planet. And all the prophecies said two things: that it would get dark, that it would get very dark, and that at the same time there would be an incarnation of all of these light workers. The rainbow
Yes.
prophecy is about the different colors of skin from the four corners of the globe that would all come together. And so this time, so if you are watching this, if you are minded toward love and unity and see on some level that darkness is there, like any darkness in my healing practice, when I see the darkness, it's about like it's guiding you somewhere. Even Lucifer is just an angel of light, bringing in darkness in order to bring you to light, you know. And all the prophecies talk about that this time on the planet there be all of these light workers, and that is everyone listening to this. But you got to claim your seat in that. Then life makes sense if you're in that,
Yes.
and what
Yes.
you're supposed to do makes sense if you're in that. And you don't have to
Yeah.
become an activist or a professional spiritual person or anything. You just have to do what you need to do to grow love.
Yes.
However you do that, and
And,
you're
and, and
part
it's
of
what
that.
you said earlier about listening to the gut, listening to that connected area that is the intuition, that is the deeper ancient wisdom within you. And I said to you before we started recording, I now have this mindset is that we are now in a sacred journey. And it's not just those of us that are light workers, light bringers, light leaders, light anything. It is all of humanity is now participating in a sacred journey towards hopefully, hopefully a unified, loving field of for the globe that just helps create more better, lots of more better.
But, I mean, this is too simplistic, but generally speaking, if you are of the light,
Mhm.
darkness will just push you toward more light. It won't overtake you.
Wow, that just turned on so many circuits in my brain when you said that.
That said, that because that's what happened during COVID. During COVID, that there was this weird. You remember, it was so
Hmm.
dark and
Hmm.
what's going on and all that, and yet all my clients, everyone was growing and thriving and leaving relationships and moving where they're supposed to move and all of that. And it was like because people of the light are in the face of darkness, they move more toward light. That said, where I throw down the gauntlet for the people who are of the light is that if you are privileged enough to have the freedom
Yeah.
to follow where the light is taking you, and you recognize others that don't, then you have to help. Then you have to help, because anything that my book, every class I teach, anything you talk about, spiritual knowledge, spiritual wisdom, how to live a spiritual life. It all means nothing if we don't have freedom. It all means
Yes,
nothing if we don't have freedom. Right
yes.
now, money is kind of equated to freedom in a lot of ways, you know. And so like it's just very important that we recognize that because I don't want to be cute about it and say that we're the chosen ones, because there are lots of chosen ones who do not have the wherewithal to follow the promptings of spirit toward light, and those people we have to help.
Yes, yes, I hear you now. I can hear that. And and that's what this next whatever several years is going to be all about, as we watch whatever's going to happen and lean into and follow and be more light.
Well, let me say this. Narcissists and sociopaths, this is a psychological truth. Narcissists and sociopaths are always in the process of unconsciously organizing their own demise. That's what they do.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My insides are doing a little, oh, I'm doing a little bit of a happy dance. I'm just
That's
so
what they
sorry.
do. That's what that's part of the psychological profile, is that like they will, is that they, because they hate themselves, they are
Right.
unconsciously organizing, and the world is what you think it is, the world is what you believe, and they unconsciously believe. Yeah, there's a part of them that unconsciously believes. That's why they hate themselves. That's why they have to get aggrandized by groups of people telling them that they're wonderful and kiss the ring and all of that stuff, because they actually hate themselves and hate you and
Right.
hate anyone who actually does follow them, because they have contempt for themselves, so they have contempt for the people who.
Right. Right. How stupid are those people following me? Because
So
really,
that's all happening, and they are unconsciously, covertly organizing their own demise. That's what they do. So we have to know that and it's about, yeah, that's great, but don't take me down with you. You know,
exactly.
um,
And does it have to really take that long? Can it just not take that long?
yeah,
Just not take that long, please.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's that, but you don't throw love and light at them. They are impervious to those energies. They are impervious to those energies. You don't do that. You run from them, or you do what you can to bind them in some way.
Oh, now it sounds like we just we just put our toe into a little bit of magic.
Yeah. I mean, however you do that, but it's not about it's not about throwing negativity around,
No.
but uh but I don't know, it might be about putting someone's name in a mason jar with some water and a lid and putting it in the freezer to freeze them from moving further.
Jonathan,
Yeah,
ha- have I said how much I adore you? Oh my God. That's just, oh my God. I
very
love
simple
that. I
magic.
think I'm gonna
It's
get
not
lots of
harm.
mason jars right now.
It's not harm. It's not harm. You go with the
No, because
intention.
you can't harm.
That's not harming. You're just freezing them from moving on, and then you can dispose of the jar when the thread is over.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so what else do you want to say about Huna? Because there's a couple other points that we haven't tapped on yet.
Well, oh yeah, the couple other principles. Energy flows with attention. That's where we left off. We know about now is the moment of power. You mentioned that.
Yes,
Aloha means we know it in Hawaii as hello and goodbye, but aloha really means to share joy, to share life face to face. It's a reciprocal sharing. That's actually what it means. Alo means face to face or share. Oha means joy. Uh, so I think, and from a Huna perspective, I would even say from a kind of shamanic perspective, that the only ethic we really follow is love. In other words, is love present here? Is love's presence a part of the consideration, a part of the choice? You
right,
know, a part of the thought form that I'm either going to give clout and legitimacy to, or I'm not.
right,
And because what we focus on creates energy that brings us the nearest available equivalent of what we put our focus and attention on. If you put your focus and attention on that which is loving, you'll create more of that.
hmm
So
hmm.
so that's a big consideration. Just, is love present? Um,
That's a good question. all the time. Is love present?
Is
Is
love present?
love present within me? You know, because I always like to start, well, I'm constantly having to relearn to start with me. Is love present within me? And then can I see, share, be love with others?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what blocks love is criticism and judgment. That's what's in the way. So
You've been following me around.
am I okay? And so that's why that's why I go back to 5D. It's more important that you put your focus on what you prefer rather than criticize and rail at the thing that at the thing that you want to criticize and rail at, because that's actually building up that's actually building up their energy as opposed to put it on that.
Yeah.
The sixth principle says that all power, it's a very interesting idea, but all power comes from within, which means that that when you are giving power to the outsider, to other people's opinions, to other people's, it is the power within you that grants them the power over.
Yes.
And so it's very important that we recognize that are you following your own truth or someone else's? Are you following your own rules or someone else's? And essentially that every being in nature has the agency to follow its own inward power or directionality toward life, and we have that too. But humans do this weird thing where we go outside of ourselves to find out who we are, and then adhere. And so it's a real big change. That one really confronts the culture, that this principle.
All cultures, because it became a global way of living that was not happening 20,000 years ago.
Our contemporary culture is a culture of, it is not how it feels, it's how it looks. And that is deadly and will actually lead to illness.
Yep, we got pretty far.
Yeah.
We got pulled off center pretty far. Yeah. So
and then the last principle, just very quickly, is just the translation is effectiveness is the measure of truth. Effectiveness is the measure of truth, meaning it's true if it works.
Oh.
It works. So truth is a very floating enterprise based on whether or not it works for you. Now that can be a little dicey with the kind of political mistruths that are going on. But the idea more than anything else is that if I want something or want to create something and it didn't work this way, there's infinite ways to try it as well. And the one that works is the one that's true for you.
Okay, that is dicey. I understand exactly what you're saying, because that's also a cornerstone of how I live my life. Does it feel true? Is it true? This is my truth. But
that's right.
A lot of people that drank the Kool-Aid or swallowed the pill or whatever they did, they outsource their authority, then think that what they've been told is the truth. And this is the sacred journey. I think it's another sacred journey over the next year or more.
But the thing about that is that it's true if it works. So I can do something very dishonest to make money.
Right.
But I can do it, but there's going to be karmic repercussions, health repercussions, possible legal repercussions, so it works that I was dishonest, but it's not actually, but it didn't actually work.
Right. See, and we've just witnessed this in all the different lawsuits that got wiggled out of, that, them are saying, oh, well, see, it worked, except it's going to take a little while for us to really see, did it actually work? Yeah.
So effectiveness is the measure of truth, but effectiveness means that you follow a truth that doesn't lead to a hangover.
Okay, I like that, because I hate hangovers of any kind. Yeah. Wow, Jonathan, thank you. Thank you. I think we have to have a conversation later on in the year, just to have the conversation. I would enjoy it. But you guys, okay. The book is called The Shaman's Mind, Huna Wisdom to Change Your Life. And Jonathan also has meditations and some experientials. And you had something so similar. I'm just going to end with this though. I was experiencing pain in my knee, my left knee. And so I opened up randomly about healing. And you said, put your hand on a part of your body that you feel is healthy. So I put on my heart. And then I put my other hand on my knee and I began to run energy, which I do for clients, but I don't know how to do it for me. My knee, 90% better within just maybe 10 minutes max of doing that. So that's become my daily practice and make sure it maintains its strength and builds its flexibility. So you guys, there's lots of gems inside this book that it's just wonderful. It's like I said earlier, it's going to be one of those resource books for me. So thank you so much, Jonathan. Thank you so much for who you are, showing up as a light in the world, and doing the work that you're doing because of your deep dive into shamanism, and then you're giving it, serving the world. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Everyone, take care of yourselves and focus on what you prefer.
Focus on what you prefer. Thank you. And I'm just going to end with, and so it is.